All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 8th, 2025 Citizen Advisory Council meeting. Before we get into the agenda, I just want to do roll call of the members. So, Gina, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. When I say your name, if you can just answer that you're here. Rachel?
Here.
Amar?
Here.
Izzy?
Here.
Elena?
Ilana, here.
Ilana. I'm sorry, Ilana. Casey?
Here.
Ted?
Here.
Carol?
Here.
I think that's it. Michael is not here.
Great. Well, thanks, everyone. So the first item on our agenda is to accept and approve the minutes from our June meeting. Did every one of the CAC members have a chance to review the minutes? And if so, do you have any amendments to propose?
Rachel, I just have one quick one.
I'm sorry, what?
I just have one quick edit for the minutes from last month.
Okay.
On item number 9, just the spelling on my name. There's no E.
Got it. Thanks. And sorry about that.
Thank you. No worries.
Any other suggested amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve as amended by Carol.
A motion.
Thanks, Ted. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you,
Izzy.
Izzy. I'm sorry? Right, right. But we've got both now. Ted moved. Mhm. All right, I'll turn it over to you to call the vote.
All right. So to approve the minutes, Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And to our applicants, welcome. Thank you so much for coming, whether online or in person. Just a few announcements before we get going. We are going to do our best to keep this as painless as possible for you, but we'll ask you to come up, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about why you're interested in however many boards you've chosen to apply for. We may have a few questions for you, but if we don't have questions, don't take that as a bad thing. It just means that you've told us enough in your introduction for us to make a decision. After the members have had a chance to ask any questions, we'll take a vote. We will vote on each of your applications individually, and we will not ask you to rank them. We're just going to go through them one by one. And then afterwards, you'll be hearing from Human Resources about next steps if we have voted to move you on in the process. If you care to correct any pronunciation errors I may have made when calling you up to the podium virtually or in person, please feel free to do so. And also, if you have preferred pronouns that you'd like to tell us to use, feel free to do so. I personally use she, her pronouns. So, with that said, our first applicant of the evening is Robin Curry. Is Robin here? Please come on up. There, or, yeah, there should be fine. And if you don't mind, it looks like the microphone is not yet on. So you'll just hit the button in front of it until it turns green.
How's
There you
that?
go. Great. Thanks. Well, thanks for joining us. We see you're here to apply for both Status of Women and the Human Rights Commission.
Yes.
If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in joining either of those boards.
Sure. I used to be on the Status of Women board, and business and personal life kind of got in the way, and I took a leave for a while, but I really missed being on the board, so I would like to come back. Human rights is something I've always wanted to be on too, but whichever one's available, if either are available.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Status of Women, what it was working on that you were interested in, and what you hope to work on going forward?
Well, we were working, when I left the board, we were working on the infant mortality, which, if I remember right, the Worcester rate was higher than the Massachusetts rate. And so we were working on programs and policies, and we were working with the hospitals to see if there were things that we could put in place to help reduce that, assistance for women. We also worked on a lot of the issues around the exploited women, and we were part of the End Demand movement, which is part of the national outlawing of purchasing commercial sex. So those are just some of the things that we worked on. I have an organization called the Central Mass Freedom Coalition, and we do advocacy work for human trafficking victims, and we do awareness and education programs. So that was a really good way for me to bring some of that work to the city. And so I've done some of that training on behalf of the city too. I could go on all night, so I'll just kind of keep it brief. But
And can you tell us a little bit about your interest in the Human Rights Commission? What's drawing you to that one as well?
It's connected to my work I do for exploited people and anti-slavery movements, and those are human rights. And there's still a need, no matter how evolved we think we are, to check ourselves and make better advances for people. So.
Questions from other CAC members?
Hi, Robin. Hi, Robin. You've done a lot of work with, outside of the committee. Do you have a preference of either or that would suit you, or?
I think at the time, the Human Rights Committee didn't have an opening.
Excuse me, I'm going to withdraw that
Oh,
question.
sorry.
I'm going to withdraw the question.
Okay.
I'm interested to hear about moving the city forward that you wrote here on your resume with the former city manager. What kind of program was that exactly?
So I set a proposal to the city manager that at the time the stadium was being built, there were a lot of hotels going up, and that's where a lot of the trafficking is happening here in the city. So we wrote a policy that in order to get licensed, the hotels would have to send their employees to an awareness and reporting training. And Mr. Augustus actually extended it the night that it was voted on and passed, and it was also including city employees and contractors to the city. And I didn't expect that, so that was really huge. So we had done lots and lots of, even in this room, we did a bunch of in-person trainings, and then COVID happened, and we lost our momentum on that. But we were doing 90-minute classes for firefighters, police, school bus drivers, lots and lots of people. It was kind of an open sign-up thing.
Thank you.
Other questions from the CAC members? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take the two votes.
Okay, so the first vote is for Robin Curry for the Status of Women. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right, that passes. And Robin Curry for the Human Rights Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right.
Congratulations. Both
Okay.
applications will move on in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do I go now, or do I stay here?
You're welcome to stay, you're welcome to leave, completely up to you. Our next applicant is Daniel Forster. Please come on up. So we see you've got also two applications, one for the Historical Commission and one for Thomas Early Scholarship. If you could tell us about yourself and your interest in those boards.
Yes, I am Daniel Forster. Been a Worcester resident for about 23 years. I've been working in higher education for basically my whole career, professional career. My interest is in history. That's what I majored in college. I've done a master's in history as well, and have been involved with my own father and family, and investigating different things within my field, including financial aid and admissions process. And so just a desire to give back to the city. I haven't been involved in any of the civic committees before, and I thought it was about time that I serve.
Questions from any of the counselors? I'll ask just one. Have you had a chance to attend either of these commissions before, or watch the meetings online, or review the minutes? And if so, is there anything that either or both are working on that you're particularly interested in?
I have not. I was involved with the Historical Journal of Massachusetts, which was a part of Westfield State's. It's their own publication, so I've had some interest there. Also with the American Antiquarian Society, but nothing with any of the committees here in Worcester.
Okay, thanks. Final shot for questions, counselors?
Okay. So Daniel Forster for the Historical Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana, sorry.
It's okay. Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right. And Daniel Forster for the Thomas Early Scholarship Board. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Congratulations. You'll be hearing from Human Resources about next steps for those applications.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Good luck.
Our next applicant is Jennifer Guzman-Gayflor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Another twofer. We see you're here for African American and Black Affairs as well as Latino Affairs. Is that correct?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your interests.
Okay. So my name is Jenny Guzman. I've been a resident of Worcester most of my life since 1989. So I've been through the Worcester Public Schools. I went to Worcester State. So I've been in Worcester. My two sons are in the Worcester Public Schools. One actually just graduated. One's still there. I lived in Worcester since 1989. So Worcester is my home, right? It's my community. In terms of my interest in the commissions, I've worked in equity work and education for like over 20 years at this point with this population, with Latino and Black African American students or families. So that's where my interest, lies because of that work. I currently work at Quincy Community College as a coordinator of academic advising. So I oversee the academic advising programming for the students, ESL advising, communications, and other workshops for the students. And I was also a teacher in the public school system. And I've worked for the Latino Education Institute. So a lot of my background is most of my life has been working with the community and with this population, and that's sort of where my passion lies. I'm heavily involved in the community in terms of this particular community, in terms of Black, African American, Black, and Latino committees and things of that nature at Quincy, and also outside the community. I'm a member of a lot of the community engagement, events that are happening, but also at Quincy in particular, I co-chair the Access to Opportunity Committee, the Black History Committee. I'm the mentor for the Hispanic Affinity Group there. So it's sort of been like all around me, I guess, all the time. And I'm at a point, I guess, in my life where I want to do more. I want to impact my community more. I want to sort of be able to serve the city that I love so much in a bigger capacity, impact the community in a bigger capacity, not just through higher ed or education, but also just in general. So that's sort of where my interest lies, and I'm very interested in policy. I'm very big on like learning and researching, so like all of that interests me as well. I just have a really love of learning, so I just want to be able to impact and be a voice to the community at a larger scale. Now that my kids are older, and I have the time. And on a personal level, I also have, I mentioned my sons. My sons are actually also, two young Black boys, so they're half Black and Latino. So my interest also in those communities lie with sort of like thinking about, how these policies affect, my family as well.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions from the counselors? I think we're ready for a vote.
So Jennifer Guzman Gayflor for the African American and Black Affairs. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Absolutely.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right, that passes. And Jennifer Guzman Gayflor for the Latino Affairs Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yeah.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Kathleen Gervais. Is Kathleen here? Can we unmute her on this side? So Kathleen, it looks like your computer is muted. Are you able to unmute it on your end? Bear with us, we're trying to figure it out. It should have capacity to unmute it. Oh, not to unmute. Oh, wow, okay. So Kathleen, it doesn't look like we're able to unmute it on our end right now. Do you want to perhaps try logging out and logging back in, and we'll get back to you next? Thank you so much. In the meantime, is Joseph Haddad here? Good evening.
Good evening.
We see you're here for Ballpark Commission and Community Preservation Committee.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in those two committees.
Yes. So I myself is a business owner in Worcester. I've been in business about 5 years. We employ about half a dozen people. For those 5 years, we've always been in the city. I'm a lifelong resident of the city. Recently, I was watching one of the Ballpark Commissions, and they were speaking about the ADA upgrades that they had done to the park. I think it was adding about 20 new seats that were handicap accessible. That's right, it's our bread and butter. It's what we do as a contractor. We install some ADA sidewalks, some side handicap ramps. We're an outdoor horizontal contractor. I think it's imperative that that is of focus. I mean, for me, we live and breathe it every day. I think making sure that ballpark stays in an equitable place for, whether it's the handicap community, Worcester residents, Worcester students, I think it's one of those things where it's our ballpark, and I think we should have fair access to it. I think also public infrastructure can sometimes go with deferred maintenance. I think it's important that we have someone or a group of people that are, construction oriented that can say, hey, we got to make sure this is well run and well maintained. That way we're protecting our large city investment.
Well, thanks. Anything you want to say specifically about the Community Preservation Committee?
I think it's just another opportunity for involvement to give back. So, I mean, as a business, we've always coincided what we do with being a community partner. I mean, some of our customers are nonprofit organizations. Yes, we might be a vendor, but I also want to be a partner. We've done them internally where we're, whether it's donating something for a cleanup day, whether it's labor efforts, or we do a fundraiser every year and raise toys for one of our customers. They're a nonprofit daycare in the city and around. So I think it's one of those things that the Community Preservation Act is here to be able to give back to Worcester. It's something I enjoy doing. It's something I've made a part of my business, and I'd like to be able to do it on a bigger level.
Great. Other questions from the council?
Yes. Since you are a vendor, is there any conflict of interest that you could foresee?
I don't believe so. I know that there are different board members that are vendors of the city. I'd be happy to speak with them, but we don't do a ton of work directly for the city. Anything we do is kind of on a level of plowing and sanding and those one-call services. I'd be happy to talk to Human Resources about it, but I don't foresee it being a major issue. It's not like we're the one building the next park or the next facility on that end. We tend to work more for housing authorities through the state in some smaller towns that don't have the resources to do some of these projects in-house like the city does.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I'm not sure if this was asked, and I apologize. Have you attended any of the meetings?
I've watched a handful of all of them online, as well as been at some of the events that the CPA has, whether it's a ribbon cutting or something, but I've watched a handful of both of them online. I haven't attended in person.
Okay, you're familiar with their purpose?
Correct,
Of the
and
committee.
happy to make myself as available as possible for any and all of these events.
Okay, and you said it wouldn't be a conflict anywhere?
I don't believe so. I'd be happy to talk to whether it was the solicitor or the human resources. I don't know who'd be the best point on that, but again, it's not like we're a big vendor of the city of Worcester. They maintain their own sidewalks and they do a lot of that type of work. It's more smaller towns and housing authorities through the state.
Okay, thank you.
Final questions? Hearing none, I think we can go ahead with the vote.
Okay, so Joseph Haddad for the Ballpark Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
I heard a faint yes.
Did you? Okay, we'll go with that. And Joseph Haddad for the Community Preservation Commission. Rachel?
No.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Okay, and that passes.
Congratulations, you'll be moving on with both commissions, and you'll hear from Human Resources.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. So I think I saw Kathleen again. Hello. Let's see if we can unmute you.
Oh, she's pressing some.
It looked like she was unmuted when she came in.
What if she muted it?
Yeah.
Sure. Kathleen, I guess there's a couple of options. First, there is a call-in number if you're interested in bringing your audio in through a second connection to the feed. Otherwise, perhaps try logging back out and logging back in again. We just can't figure out how to unmute you on our end. I'm so sorry. Oh, there you are. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you. Great.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem. We've had tons of technical problems before, and we'll have them again in the future. But thanks for
okay.
joining us. We see you're here tonight to talk about the Human Rights Commission and the Commission on Homelessness.
Excuse me, actually, I would just like the Commission on Homelessness. That is my preference. I have been a volunteer for the past 20 years with the homeless population, and also I've volunteered at St. John's Food for the Poor, Soup Kitchen, and also Hotel Grace for 10 years. And I'm a retired occupational therapist from the City of Worcester School Department. I'm also a certified addiction counselor, and I just see a great need for a commission that would help our homeless population. It is just getting larger and larger. And I just really think that something has to be done, especially with shelters. They also need all types of services, preferably mental health services, job training, just a whole array of things that need to be done. And I think that I noticed when I logged in, this is a new commission that's being started, so I'm hoping that other people will be interested in it, because this is my passion.
Thanks. Are there any members from the council, or questions from the council members? Excuse me.
Hi, Kathleen. Excuse me. Is there anything in particular that you think could be done sooner before the cooler weather comes in, on your opinion?
Definitely, I believe there should be a year-round permanent shelter. Like I said, I had volunteered at Hotel Grace and then again over at Blessed Sacrament. But that all ends in April. So right now we are seeing more and more homeless people, and they're all over the city. And it's just terrible. So I do think the biggest need right now is a permanent shelter.
Other questions? Hearing none, I think we'll go forward with a vote.
All right, Kathleen Gervais for the Commission on Homelessness. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes, and thank you, Kathleen, for all the service.
Alana?
You're welcome.
Yes, definitely.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Oh, yeah.
Carol?
Yes.
Well, congratulations. You'll be moving on in the process, and hopefully you'll hear back very, very soon.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for putting up with our tech problems tonight.
No, thanks for putting up with me.
Our next applicant this evening is Glenn Pape. Is Glenn here?
Yes.
Great, come on up. So we see you're here for Elder Affairs, is that correct?
That's right. And alternatively, the urban forestry.
Okay. Apparently there's no opening in your district, but we're still happy to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh, no
if something comes up
opportunity
with-
for elder affairs? So there's none?
No, Elder Affairs, you're good.
Oh, okay.
The other, the urban forestry, there's no opening in your district.
Okay. All right. Well, my primary interest is the elder affairs.
Great. We'll go forward on elder affairs tonight then. Go ahead, floor is
Well,
yours.
good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with you tonight. I'm interested in the Elder Affairs Commission really for two reasons. One, there's, I think, a tremendous need, and second, I think there's tremendous opportunity. From the need angle, there's at least 15% of our folks are elderly in this community right now, and within 10 years, depending upon which demographic source you look at, it's going to be 25%. So that's more than a 50% increase. And although we've made, I think, we have this great asset in the senior center, the senior center reaches, according to the minutes, 6,800 folks, and yet, according to Amy Waters, there's 39,000 people 65 and over. Some other sources say 35,000, but in that ballpark. So it reaches 6,800 out of 35 or 39,000. Another publication from the Senior Center itself says actually it's 1,000 plus that they reach. But the bottom line is there's a lot of people that right now are not being reached by the Senior Center. And yet I think it's a tremendous resource. But I think we need a systematic plan. I think that's the opportunity. A systematic plan to look at how many people do in fact we have, how is that population growing, what are their needs, what are we providing, what's the gap, and what are we going to do about it? And we have these tremendous NGOs, these partners, Elder Services, Worcester, and so forth, and I suspect that they have a lot of data. And what I'd like to see is all that data coming together. I suspect but don't know that there's silos, and that if we can work with the NGOs in a systematic way, in a data way, we could publish, and I think it's important to publish, a plan that says this is where we are, and this is where we want to go, and how are we going to get there. Portland has a plan like that. New York City has a bit of a plan like that. There are standards. The UN has guidelines as to what ought to be in a plan. There's the World Health Organization that says there's 8 domains that should be considered in age-friendly neighborhoods. So I think we need to sort of get on that. Now, the other opportunity besides having a systematic plan is it seems to me that while we might think of the elderly population as a community to be served, and of course it is that, I think it's a huge asset. And a huge asset in terms of intergenerational opportunities. I'm thinking of mentorships, I'm thinking of helping in the Worcester Public Schools. There's a lot of talent, a lot of wisdom, a lot of stories we talked about. And I think we need to use that asset that we have. And at the same time, if we can engage that community in that, it's good for them. It's good for, for us to have that social aspect in our life, have a sense that we're making a contribution and really making one. So I just think that there's a lot of opportunities on the Elder Affairs Commission. And my background is in financial planning, but really financial planning education. And really the process in financial planning education is very similar. It's where you are today, where do you want to go, what are your choices, making those choices, and then monitoring it. And it's the same kind of thing. And it's looking in financial planning, when your financial well-being, you want to look at not just your balance sheet in terms of how much money do you have in the bank or what's in your IRA, but what are your real assets? What kind of intelligence? What are your networks? What's your creativity? What's your energy? What do you bring to the table? And when you look at your liabilities, not just, again, what the mortgage amount is, but, if you get a divorce, you lose half your assets. If you have a child who has an entitlement mentality, that's a liability for you in the future. So there's a lot of things that don't appear on numbers on the page that really affect your financial well-being. And I suspect it's the same for the city. So I want to bring that kind of perspective to the Elder Affairs Commission.
Questions from the councilors?
I have one question for you, Glenn. Do you feel that there should be maybe somewhere down the line an expansion of the senior center? Maybe another side of the city, or this is just a
Two things on the
speculation.
senior center that just impressed me. One is the senior center must have a lot of data. They have all this experience, and it's at least anecdotal data. And then secondly, there might be numerical data, and if there isn't, maybe there's a way to connect it. But the other thing I just wonder about, and I think we need to outreach to the community to see, we have one senior center. And, you can take the bus route 1 to get there, but I just wonder whether we need more. And it costs about $1 million is what we spend on that center, actually a little less than that. Doesn't seem like a lot of money, although in today's situation, maybe it's problematic. But we have something, maybe we need to scale it. But let's find out if the reason why, more people are not taking advantage of the senior center is proximity or whether it's something else. But if it's proximity, then I think we need to look at, but we need to look at it in the context of all the other needs that we have and then decide, is that the next most important thing to do? I think we need to do it in a data-driven, analytical way.
Right. Thank you.
Other
Yes,
questions?
Yes, I'm curious about how you move from the data into strategy and different action plans, and whether you have any thoughts about involving more of a community action, grassroots level, not just relying on the senior center.
Well, I think the first step is to get the data, and then, absolutely, I think you want to get community involvement. I think, it'd be nice to leverage the neighborhood meetings that we have and talk about some of these issues, because we are going to have a situation where we're going to have a lot of needs, and we're going to have to decide somehow which of the needs are most important. And for that, it can't be just, what do I think, or what do the 15 people on the Elder Affairs Commission think. We somehow need to get buy-in from the community. And, the only way I would know how to do that is neighborhood meetings, polls, those kinds of, those kinds of techniques. Does that answer your question?
Partially.
What's the gap?
That's my question, is it seems like the gap between the data and implementation. A lot of my experience is a lot of data and no implementation. It gets stuck there. So I'd like to know how you bridge that gap. And just saying community meetings, who's going to go to the community? How do you reach out to those people?
Well,
And I have to say, I have a bias. I'm 82.
Right. Let's say, for example, the housing is an issue. Let's say a concern is housing. And, people are concerned maybe in terms of the affordability of their home or the, getting contractors or shoveling snow, whatever it happens to be. So I think the first thing to do is to sort of document that. And then I think, once we see that, we try to figure out, what's the next, what are the possible things that we could do? Now, most of the time when I read about things, it's financial. Well, they need money of some kind. But I also look at communication and education. As an example, someone who has a home and they're concerned about, can I afford it? Maybe I'm not concerned this year, but 5 years from now. Well, what are their possible choices they have? Well, they could downsize. Right now, that seems to be problematic given the interest rates, but they could. It's an option. What's another thing they could do? Well, maybe they could Airbnb parts of the room if they were comfortable doing that. What's the third thing they can do? Well, we have programs in Worcester, depending upon your income, where you can get a renovation of up to $25,000 for major rehabilitation systems, and you can do that up to once in every 5 years. So I think the first thing you do is you sort of write it down of what the options are, and then some of that is just communication and counseling, so that when we have senior referrals and someone wants to talk about their options, some of it is just explaining what those options are, and then we see what hits. Maybe lots of people want to participate in the rehabilitation program. Maybe other people are intrigued by the Airbnb, and then we need to sort of focus that. And if you think about it, maybe we could leverage, if we took the Airbnb situation, and I know that can be controversial, but I'm thinking of an owner-occupied Airbnb. So we're not talking about someone getting, 6 of them and, not, hurting the supply of rentals. This is someone who's in their home and is looking to offset the cost of that home by getting additional revenue here. But you can imagine where we could even go to Airbnb or to, major organizations and say, hey, look, Worcester is looking at this as a real opportunity for elderly citizens. Maybe we could get something from them, because I think it's a tremendous PR opportunity. So one of the things I look at is, what are the assets of Worcester? The city itself, the name of the city. If we can show organizations how what they have to offer really helps us, helps the elderly community, I think we'll get a deal, frankly. Or I think we could leverage that into a deal. So I'm not sure if I've now, moved the needle on answering your question, but that's my best effort.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Ted, you got it?
Just one more question. If I'm not mistaken, is there nursing still available for seniors?
A nursing?
Nursing system. I know they did at one time.
You mean like a nursing home?
No, nursing, visiting nurse. Did they had services at one time. I don't know if that,
I don't
Has,
know, but that gets to aging in place and what are your opportunities to age in place, and what might be covered by Medicare or Medicaid or so forth. But I think the bigger, I don't know the answer to your question, but I think the bigger issue is how do I age in place in my home, and for how long, and what's my plan B, and is that really what I want to do? I really see lots of opportunities for education and lots of opportunities for just writing something down. In other words, I might not know everything that I want to do, but if I could just write down, these are the potential challenges people in my situation have. These are generally the kind of opportunities I have. Some of it just sort of we need to process it. And we're not going to make a decision like that because I'm not in crisis today. But then we can think about things.
okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
All right. I think we're ready for a vote, although I also think we could ask you a ton more questions. So we'll see how
I'm
it
game.
All right, so Glenn Pape for the Elder Affairs Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Yes.
Mar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
No.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
All right, that passes.
Congratulations. You'll be moving on in the process.
Thank you.
Our next applicant this evening is Marissa Robertson. Is Marissa here?
Yes, I'm here on Teams.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming. We understand that you've applied for the Community Preservation Committee and also for the LGBTQ+ affairs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in those two groups, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Great. So I am Marissa Robertson. I use she, her pronouns, and the committee I'm primarily interested in is the Community Preservation Committee. So my background and my current role, my current job, I am the director or deputy director of a grant program that focuses on social resilience and climate resilience at the state level. But I am interested in bringing this focus down to like my personal life and at the more local level. I've lived in Worcester for 13 years. So I'm often thinking about things like community engagement, social resilience, climate resilience, and really how these aspects interact with things like housing, open space, planning processes, community preservation. I am constantly thinking about these things all the time, historic preservation in my day-to-day. So I was just naturally kind of drawn to this commission due to my interests and my background. I also am interested in this because I attended the Mayor's Civics Academy, and they were really encouraging folks to get involved in the boards and commissions. And I really see this as a crucial time for young folks to be getting involved at the local, especially municipal level. I think that's really important. So I feel like I'm finally at a time in my life where I'm like stable and able to get more involved in my community. From a kind of like administrative aspect, so I mentioned I run a grant program. I'm very familiar with soliciting proposals for grants. It seems like the description of this committee was that it was a planning process, but I had looked at some of the minutes and it seems like maybe they're moving now into a piloting projects and accepting applications to actually implement some projects, which is really exciting to me, because I think we often see municipal processes that have a whole lot of planning, but not a whole lot of implementation. So I really see this committee as like this kind of unique opportunity to really engage with the community, see what kind of projects the community wants, and actually implement those projects. And then in terms of the LGBTQ Affairs Committee, I also identify as queer, and I really think the city definitely needs more queer representing folks at all levels. It is unclear to me whether this committee has actually gotten off the ground. I know it's pretty new, but I will be volunteering with Whistler Pride as well. So also interested in kind of this new avenue direction that the city seems to be moving in, which I think is really exciting.
Well, thank you. Any questions from the councilors?
Marissa, have you attended any of the meetings for the conservation?
I've looked through them online, and I also looked through pretty much all of the minutes online. And that's where I saw like it seemed like they were moving into a FY25 pilot phase. Saw some projects coming in. It looked like they were reviewing those, possibly for implementation.
Okay, any thoughts that you could offer them? Some advice? Projects?
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's some good projects in there. I would be curious to know more about the planning process that has happened or is concurrently happening, and how much kind of engagement went into that in terms of engaging with the community to really see like, okay, how does the community want these funds used? Is this kind of a bottom-up approach or a top-down approach? Personally, as community preservation funds, I believe it really should be very community-focused. It's right there in the title. So I would be curious to know more of like, are the projects that are coming in for this pilot phase representative of what the wider community wants to see implemented in terms of projects?
And I don't think they've dispersed any funds as of yet, have they?
It doesn't seem, it seems like they might still be deciding on how to assess the projects. So that's why I was saying, as somebody who helps run a grant program, I look at proposals, assess proposals all the time for grants. And so I think that would be a skill set that I could definitely bring to that committee.
Because it's going to be a difficult decision. I think they have $4 million that they raised, and they've had $8 million in requests, so that's going to be a tough job. And I think...
Yeah, it is. It's not fun.
Thank
to
you.
have to decide those things, yeah. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Take it away.
All right, Marissa Robertson for the Community Preservation Committee. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes, I love your energy, Marissa.
Thank you.
All right, and Marissa Robertson for the LGBTQ Plus Affairs Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Great. Well, congratulations. You'll be moving on in the process for both commissions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our next applicant is Kathleen O'Connor. Good evening. We understand you're here for the Historical Commission and also for the Community Preservation Committee. Is that correct?
After leaving for college in 1975, I never lived full-time in Worcester until I returned last year, a return I made because I've always felt connected to the city. As a child, I mourned the loss of buildings like the old Elm Street Library, where I received my first library card. Now, of course, there are many more important buildings that have been gone, and I mourn the loss of those too. I think I could be an asset to the Historical Commission because I have an academic background in American decorative arts and architecture, which I taught for many years. I'm now a docent for Preservation Worcester, and in college I volunteered at Preservation Worcester working on their handbook, the first edition of Worcester's Best, so I'm familiar with many buildings in the city. In preparation for tonight's meeting, I watched 8 of the Historical Commission meetings, and it was very informative. I not only learned a lot of construction materials I had no knowledge of whatever, but I also learned a great deal about the tension between cost and historicity. Homeowners often want to use the cheapest construction method, but often it's more expensive to maintain the architectural and historic significance of the building. I would clear up my Thursday evenings so that I could attend the commission meetings, and I would intend to be an active participant in commission meetings. And it would be a privilege to be a member of the Worcester Historical Commission.
And can you tell us a little bit more about your interest in the Community Preservation Committee and how you see the two as
Well, the Historical Commission would be my very first choice. I know people who are on the Community Preservation Committee, and so that would be my second choice. I think that's important too, to find things that are important for the city. But the Historical Commission would be, my heart would be there.
Thanks. Other questions from the council?
I see you've been involved with public lectures.
With what?
Public lectures,
I'm sorry,
public speaking.
with what?
this
I'm
up-
sorry. I'm hard of hearing and I haven't
Oh,
got
I'm
my
sorry.
good hearing aids yet.
All right, well, I see you're involved very much with public lecturing.
Yes, I've done a lot of public lectures. Yeah, particularly when I was working at Bayou Bend. So I've done a lot of public lectures here, and then I did one in Berlin.
And you're still doing them.
I haven't done any recently, but I expect I will be doing some for Preservation Worcester. I had to do a public lecture as part of my training, and the lecture I did was important buildings that are lost 18th century houses. So I talked about several houses from the 18th century that have been lost.
Thank you.
Other questions from the council? I think we're ready to proceed with the vote.
Okay. Kathleen O'Connor for the Historical Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
That passes. And Kathleen O'Connor for the, excuse me, the Community Preservation Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Ilana?
Yes.
Casey,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Well, congratulations. You'll be moving on for both groups, and you'll
Thank
hear
you.
from Human Resources about next steps.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Next up, we have Hasib Mahmood. Good evening. Tonight, we have you for Historical Commission and Arts Council. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in those two groups.
Hi, my name is Hasib Mahmood. I am a Worcester resident since 2019. And professionally, I worked with different Medicaid systems with different states as a supervisor for their eligibility centers and call centers. And being also like I'm a landlord, I own a house in Worcester. So living in Worcester and being a landlord and coming from a diverse background, I feel that right now I wanted to get involved with the city, with knowing my neighbors, being part of the community and building the community in that process, also developing. So when I was looking the meetings for Historical Commission, I felt like the work they're doing is great to preserving the historic and architectural value of the houses, and I wanted to be part of that.
And can you tell us a little bit about your interest in the Arts Council?
So I'm also a world traveler. I came back from Munich and India last month, and throughout my entire journey, when I'm traveling the world, I visit all the museums. I love art and art history, education. Background-wise, I had art history as minor, and art is something always attracts me. Currently, I'm also working on a book based on historical fiction as my side project. So that is another reason I wanted to involve in Art Council.
Questions from the council members?
okay. Hasib Mahmood for the Historical Commission. Rachel,
Yes.
Amar,
Yes.
Izzy,
Yes.
Ilana,
Yes.
Casey,
Yes.
Ted,
Yeah. Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Right, that passes. And Hasib Mahmood for the Arts Council. Rachel,
No.
Amar,
Yes.
Izzy,
Yes.
Ilana,
Yes.
Casey,
Yes.
Ted,
Yeah.
Carol.
No.
That still passes.
Congratulations. You'll be moving on for both councils.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Our next applicant is Erin Michelotti. Is Erin here?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Hi. We see you're
Hi.
here to talk to us about Arts Council.
Yes, I am. My background is in grants management and grant accounting. I'm currently a consultant. But further back than that, I grew up very involved in the arts. I grew up in doing classical piano, classical voice, very involved in performing arts and ballet and Irish dance and theater, and always visited museums growing up. When I got to college, I studied political science, so I have tended to try to be very civically engaged throughout my life. And this just seems like the perfect meeting of all of my skills. Going on to the Arts Council, I would like to be able to utilize a little bit of my financial background to help bring a little bit of knowledge and stability to the Arts Council, as I know that moving forward in the next few years, we are likely to have less funding than we did in prior years, just because of the cuts to arts funding at the federal level. And one other thing that I would like to be able to see happen in the Worcester art scene is, right now there is a gap with the dissolution of Start on the Street. And I think that the Worcester Arts Council can help either fund or reestablish something like that to fill the arts festival void that we're sort of seeing now. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Well, thank you. Any questions from the council members?
Hi, Aaron. Oh, sorry. Hi, Aaron. Hi. You mentioned Start on the Street. Any idea who you might be able to get to organize that through the council? Any thoughts, any names?
For the council or within the council?
Well, someone that you might be able to work with that would be interested in reviving that operation.
I think there are a number of people that are already very interested in reviving it. I know that the current leads for Start on the Street, Lauren, I know that Laura was not able to continue doing that moving forward, but I know that she has a lot of great resources, and we are personally acquaintances. So I'd be happy to see what her lessons learned are and see what advice she would have for restarting or beginning something new moving forward.
Okay. That was a great event, and it's unfortunate that, it stalled a little bit, but maybe you can revive it, you and the council.
Yeah. I would love that.
No big deal, just a giant festival. You've got it. Other questions from the council? I think we're ready for a vote.
All right, Erin Michelotti for the Arts Council. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Congratulations, you'll be moving on in the process.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Did I don't. I'm so sorry, I missed Bruce Starr. Is Bruce here? I just checked you off as a yes already, so anyway, we still have to go through the formal process, but we see you're here to apply for the Historical Commission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in that commission.
So I have worked as a renovation contractor, and I am currently a designer for kitchens and bathrooms for a company that's, I work in Natick, so my main work is in Metro West. But I've also been a homeowner in Worcester since 2019. And I was part of the, influx of new people. At the time, Worcester was really expanding, and I'd like to maybe establish a little more roots here and become involved in the community more. And I think this is a great opportunity. I've always considered myself a student of history and architecture, and I've had the opportunity to live in several really important historical communities around the entire East Coast. I've lived in Grant Park, Atlanta, Old City, Philadelphia. I spent a lot of time working as a renovation contractor in Washington, D.C. I want to say that I don't have a dog in that fight here in terms of what I would be doing in Worcester. I'm not trying to, I'm not advancing any agenda in terms of doing work here. It's simply, I think, but I am, I think, particularly aware, being very much with my pulse on the contractor and homeowner communities, that there is a tension between the historical preservation that we need to be very aware of to maintain the character and the very nature of why we love these cities, and current modern usage, what people need to succeed and prosper in the newer, in this environment that we live in now. So I think this is a great opportunity. And when I was one of my very first jobs out of college, I had the opportunity to work for 3 years on a National Historic Landmark in Atlanta, which was the Fox Theater. And that gave me an opportunity to see historical preservation done to the absolute highest degree, where I think they reopened a mill in Scotland in order to reproduce the upholstery for the theater seats when they replaced them. They would, all of the light switches in the various places within the theater, they had an Egyptian ballroom, which was entirely designed according to, as an Egyptian tomb. They had a Spanish ballroom. Every single light switch was custom designed, and they had those all reproduced. That's very different from a homeowner who wants to live in a historic community, but has to use materials they can afford. So I'm interested in that tension, and I'd like to be a part of helping with that in Worcester.
Questions from the council members?
So you've been in Worcester since 2019, you said, right?
Correct.
What have you learned so far?
So I think there's definitely historic districts that people are aware of and that have these beautiful old homes. I particularly, I own one of the Worcester three flats, which is such a unique architectural feature, and I see a lot more challenge there to help people to understand what they represent and why they're important. And I see in a neighborhood that I live in that it's difficult. There's a lot of challenges there. A lot of the buildings are not maintained as they should be. And some of the landlords that just rent to students, have various challenges to be able to maintain their properties. I mean, there's various things. I think we have a challenge with trash. To be honest, that's a big challenge in the community. But the uniqueness of the community and the way that what it represents in terms of since the Industrial Revolution and the kinds of mills and things that were the evolution of the city are so important. And it is an important history to understand and try to maintain.
And we also have one of the oldest parks in the United States. We have one of the oldest parks in the United States.
And I'm trying to grasp in my mind which one that would be. Would it be Elm Park?
Elm Park.
There we go.
First incorporated in the United States. So got a challenge over there too. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And before we go for a vote, you've definitely convinced me that I need to check out that theater because it sounds fascinating. So thank you
It
for
is
those
fascinating.
tidbits.
All right, so Bruce Starr for the Historical Commission. Rachel?
Yes.
Amar?
Yes.
Izzy?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Congratulations. You'll be moving on in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but just in case I can't see the screen as well as I should, is either Sophia or Stephen here? And is there anyone here who thought they were interviewing for something that we didn't call them for yet?
Right.
All right, we will turn now to the rest of the agenda. Okay. I don't have my agenda on me. I don't have an agenda on me. Oh, it is there. I'm sorry. I'll bring my other glasses next time, folks. But first up, we have recruitment and outreach. Is there anything anyone wanted to say? I will emphasize an email we received from Jeannie earlier today about the upcoming fall debates with the Worcester Regional Research Bureau. We've staffed at those debates before, and it's been a really great place for recruitment, so I would absolutely encourage council members to attend if possible. I myself am going to volunteer for the first and last ones, but would love company if you're able to come, or if you're able to take the other dates. Those could be really great opportunities to reach civic-minded folks.
Rachel, I'll do that first one with you in September.
Great.
Rachel, I plan on doing a couple in October, but I'll get you the dates. I got to check my calendar.
Thanks.
I'll come to some of them too, but I also have to check my calendar.
Yeah, similar to the rest. I'm going to check to see which ones I can go to.
Well, great. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect.
Anything else we should talk about with recruitment and outreach today? Just a reminder, though, to check the calendar that's up at worcestercultural.org. If you see an event where you think CAC should be there, even if you can't make it, feel free to say the word, and we'll see if we can scrounge up a volunteer or two. Moving on, does anyone have any agenda items that they'd like to propose for future meetings? Any additional business to cover tonight? Well, then, as a reminder, our next meeting will be on Wednesday, August 13th. Again, a hybrid meeting, and will be in Esther Howland Chambers. Last chance for anything. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you very much, Izzy. That concludes tonight's meeting. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your summer. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.